This quick video is going to show you how you register your own APIs in the Atmosphere system. First thing you've got to do, of course, is log in. I'm going to use my Facebook account. Nice and simple. Already registered this, so we're ready to go. You can see if I have any APIs already from my APIs page. I don't have any. I'm not even following any. I can search for APIs that exist and follow them so they appear in my dashboard and in this list. But for now, let's focus on how we add one. I'm going to go ahead to the big plus button where we add everything to the system. Add a new API. Nice and simple. I get to define the name for the API. Call it My API. Thrilling name. Version 1.0. We'll call it API. We'll call it cool, and we'll call it rocking. It's a rocking, cool API. We'll even spell cool correctly. I'm going to make it a public API so that it appears in the system and is indexed, ready to be found by anyone external or internal. I'm going to give it a description. This is the My API facility. It does cool, rocking things, hence the tags. And a version description. Version 1 may have issues. I'm going to upload an avatar, an icon for this API. This looks like a sensible API type icon. I can crop it, don't need to. I'm going to just take this version as it is. Now we start getting into the meat of things. Here's where we define the endpoints for the API. I'm going to say the target rather. This is the service that the API is going to invoke internally. I'm going to have a production and a sandbox endpoint for this API. So my production is prod here. Oh, sorry, sandbox is sandbox. Let me get this right. There we go. And I can define the interface structure for the API. This is a REST service. I'm going to expect that it allows internally, it's an XML only interface. And it has a set of methods. It starts with a single method that accepts a lot of different things. But here I just want to have a list operation, which is a get on the root URL. And I will sync that to the proxy. I'll explain what that did in just a second. And a read method, which is a get on an identifier for the object. Pretty easy to also go ahead and create more methods. I'm just going to do one more. We'll have an add method, which is typically a post, again on the root URL of the system, and syncing that to the proxy. I can choose the policies that are associated with this physical service, this internal endpoint, but I'm not going to bother with that at this point. Moving on to the proxy definition. Proxy is where we're expected to define exactly how the API looks and what context prefixes and pars and things we have. In this case, I'm going to call it My API, and that's the production, and we'll have My API Sandbox. So those are our two endpoints. It automatically assigns a CNAME that's unique, but I can choose to change that and define my own CNAMEs and manage my own DNS if I choose. For the production endpoint, I'm going to insist that people get approval from me before I allow them to access it. Sandbox, I'll let them go ahead and use it directly. Again, now if I look at the method signature, I can see that syncing with the proxy forced all this, the information to come across into the proxy definition, so I have the same endpoint, same method signature. But in this case, I want to allow XML and JSON content for my API, so I'm just going to set that through this drop down, and we're all good. I also need to choose a mechanism in which users are going to identify themselves to the API, and I'm going to choose app ID with a shared secret, so it's basically a signed header. And I'm going to allow either of these service level policies to apply when users request access to the API. I'll save the API, and we will see that that's going to go ahead and create a new API in the system. It'll register the endpoints. It'll set me up with a set of default pages, ratings, reviews. The API now has a board where people can go request, ask questions, raise tickets. It's got monitoring information that only administrators of the API will see. We've got documents where I can go ahead and upload docs. In fact, I should immediately go ahead and upload docs. Legal documents, so agreements that I require people to sign. Then some administrator-specific pages. So who's managing the admins of the API, looking at the apps that are using it. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward to go ahead and create an API in the system. You've defined the proxy, these endpoints are ready to go. Users can go ahead and request access from the apps they create. and you're golden.